Hello, I'm Mario Toneguzzi, Senior News Editor with Retail Insider, and joining me today is David Ian Gray, founder and strategist with DIG360 Consulting. Thanks, David, for joining us.
Hi, Mario, and happy holiday shopping season.
Yeah, exactly. I'm surprised you're not out there on your computer buying up a storm on Cyber Monday. Tell me what your sense is of how this period of time, Black Friday and Cyber Monday, has gone this year compared to other years. If you've gotten a sense, or is it too early to tell?
No, well, and just for context, I think we're the only group in Canada that's really tracked Black Friday consumer behavior from 2010 onward. It's been very consistent how we've approached it, and we've actually tracked that in the week after Cyber Monday in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a little bit of a context to be able to position this year.
Yeah.
Reading the pundits out there, and I think there's always a tendency to want to have like the soundbite answer, like here, retail's overstocked, or the consumers are panic buying, or whatever it might be. What I was really uncertain of is I see all sorts of different things happening that are contradictory to each other simultaneously this year, like I've never seen before. So I spent Black Friday afternoon talking with a number of retail executives coast to coast. What are they seeing? And it was amazing. Like I could line up all their conversations, and they were actually contradicting each other in many places. So we're seeing a lot of chaos, I guess, is really it. And I think the thing with Black Friday or the holiday shopping season is it's a non-linear event now. It's not that here's what happened last year, so is it going to be up 5% or down 5%? There's so many variables at play, which includes how do the consumers feel about the economy, all the way through to, is a particular retailer overstocked, and are they going to panic sell early in November? The consumers are not the king anymore in my books. The employees are king, and the investors are maybe a co-regent. So we're all reacting to each other in this ecosystem. And so what I think is happening this year is we've been hearing a lot of US news that massive overstocks, in contrast to 2021 being out of stock with the supply chain. I don't think that's quite true. So for example, Best Buy in the US just announced that its inventory is down about 15% from last year, which is not an overstock. And they're actually feeling really good about it. They're about positioned just right. I noticed visually that Urban Barn is offering 15% off furniture. When I look at that, I go, they're not overstocked. Otherwise they'd be dumping. But then you see some others that are dumping. So I think everyone's position is very different. And then the consumers are highly vigilant for deals this year. They're not going to just buy something because they see it and they think they're not going to have it. They're waiting for the thing to get to a price point that they want to pay for it. Wow. And so, a given retailer's story telling me that, yeah, the sales for them started early in November was not the same for the next one I spoke with, who said, no, they waited. And it's because of what they're offering. Hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And I just wonder that whole frenzy over Black Friday, if the shine is off that these days, because as you mentioned, you're looking in October or whatever, and the sales were there, right, already.
Yeah, and if we kind of remove pandemic era and sort of think about 2019 and prior, in our tracking by about 2018, 2017, it was amazingly persistent each year that about half of Canadians, plus or minus a few percent, would get engaged in the bargain hunting for Black Friday. And about half of Canadians wouldn't. And when you ask them more about that, there are a lot of people who, the reasons for not getting engaged are either, it could be budgetary, but it's also, they find it too consumerist, there's too much hype, et cetera, et cetera. and it tends to skew a little older. Younger people like the hunt, they like the sport of it.
Yeah.
They're the ones who also like hunt deals all the time. But we found it was really a split. It's not like all Canadians are involved in this animal.
Yeah.
So the other thing that we noticed by about 2018 was it was really Black Friday month. And it's not because the consumers driving that, it was because the retailers started putting stuff on sale. Like you said, they would be as early as maybe a couple things late October, definitely by early November, sales were starting to show up. And then a consumer is going to react to those. So it's gone from being Black Friday being a focal point quite a few years ago, and every year becomes a little bit more stretched out, and right through to the end of the year, right? It's going to keep going.
When you look at today's consumers, David, what are your thoughts on the impact that the higher cost of living and inflation is going to have on their spending habits this year?
Well, let's remove sort of the affluent end of Canada, because a lot of them have done fairly well through the pandemic through investments, the stock market, they've invested in real estate and so on. So let's look at more, call it the middle class, upper mid, down to people who are on tighter budgets. They are, I think, in almost an unprecedented way, they're actually not just talking about being price conscious, they're actually doing household budgets. They're prioritizing items, they're sacrificing things in favor of other things. And I think they're highly deal motivated. And that's not me being brilliant on this. I think we've been hearing that across the board. I don't think they're as afraid this year of stockouts, but last year they got conditioned to kind of be a little bit hypersensitive. If they think something that they want at the right price might be in limited supply, I think they're getting more trained by the industry to buy it and not delay it. So I think the timing of some purchases is starting to stretch out across the season, but definitely it's not about not buying anything. It's more about prioritizing what they're going to buy, being able to forego some things, having more discipline within the household. And you know, credit's max, and there's a concern about if rates go up on their credit and their carrying balances. All those things are in play right now. So I think that's going to be the percentage of Canadians involved in holiday shopping will be just like it's always been. The number of items that they're buying and at what price point they're buying those at will be different this year.
So do you think then, like in the past, we were kind of, as consumers, trained, I guess, to look at these specific periods of time, Black Friday, Cyber Monday, and then obviously, Boxing Day and Boxing Week now. But do you think throughout this period of time, we're going to see more and more promotions and sales by retailers?
Yeah, I think every retailer is trying for that. Unfortunately, there's an uneven playing field. So we talk a lot in Canada about supporting local independent retail. They don't really have that economy of scale, and where the big brands are kind of teaming up with retail to offer promotions, they're planned well in advance. And Sony will team up with Best Buy and contribute to that sales item margin, right? That doesn't happen for local independents. So they're going to try to do that. It's a lot harder, but they will try. And then across the board, I think people are looking, but I'm going to say this, it's not good for the retail industry to be discounting to a point where they can't recoup the money they need to be financially solid going into the next year. And I think what surprised me the most is through November, the discipline I've seen out of a lot of retail to not go deep on their discounting. And even when they're doing up to 50% off, when you go take a look at that, like I was looking at MEC, for example, they were promoting some good percentages, but when you go in there, there's very few items that are actually at that level. And I think that's good for the business. The problem from the consumer side, where we do more of our study, is and this was happening pre-pandemic, every year we would ask them to rate the deals and the promotions, and they were getting more and more pessimistic, like to the point where they're saying, hey, there's way more hype than substance.
Huh.
Last year, I think it was about 50% of people gave it like a 1 to 5 rating on the quality of the promotions.
Yeah.
And so the unintended consequence is when everyone's blasting everything out on social media and emails and up to whatever percent off, I think what you're going to see is some consumer fatigue, because it takes a lot of energy to parse through all the offers, and there's a lot of noise in the market. So it's going to be those providers that can offer very clear and compelling deals where it's crystal clear what you're going to get. And in a platform, so Amazon obviously has a real advantage because they can promote across a number of categories, or Costco. But if I'm trying to track myriad individual brands, say in the outdoor space or jeans, there's a point where you're now investing so much time in it, and you're going down rabbit holes as a consumer, that you start getting a little burned out from it. So I think these are all the things in play, and each individual brand or chain is going to want, or store is going to want to promote. They have to realize, though, they're getting caught up in a lot of noise out there and a lot of fatigue.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that was great. David, I appreciate you taking the time to do this.
You're welcome. And the one thing I might just add is what we might see different this year is if the retailers hold tight to not going into deep discount mode. January might be an unprecedented month for selling off for those who were in overstock positions, and in a way we haven't seen before. The other quick thing I'm going to say is, despite what people say about gift giving, Black Friday historically has been really, really about buying for oneself, which is really akin to Boxing Day and Boxing Week. So that was where we saw cannibalization or a shift. We're still going to see people wanting to look after their kids, their friends, their families with gifts that mean something. And so we're going to see, now that we're coming out of Cyber Monday, we're going to see that switch over to a deeper focus on gift giving right up to the 24th. And we'll still see those Saturdays to come be very, very important retail days.
All right. Thanks very much, David. All right, that was David Ian Gray, founder and strategist with DIG360 Consulting. I'm Mario Toneguzzi, senior news editor with Retail Insider. Thanks for joining us today.